Everybody, it's Giselle Bonomo, self-development coach and confidant at self-empowermentcoaching.com. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my first video. I talked about liking yourself. So this next video that I want to get into is the idea of once you start to reevaluate yourself again in your life and you decide that you want to better yourself in some way, shape, or form, then it's time to do something. So that's what I want to talk about. I think that is possibly the hardest thing for people to do, to actually make up their mind and then do something. And, I can tell you from my own experiences that, first of all, no matter, people, I think we all do this, in our minds we have aspirations or goals or, something that we want to do. And so, it's in the back of our mind, and we're going to do it. But we're always waiting for that one right time or the right moment, or we say to ourselves, well, somebody or something will come in and and then it'll just all fall into place. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. Nobody's going to come and save you. Nobody's going to knock on your door and everything's just going to be wonderful. There's never going to be that perfect moment. It's just like right now, like me, making this video. It took me a long time to even get to this level because, I just wasn't sure, didn't think I could do it, put it off until I finally had to make up my mind and go for it. And that's how it is, no matter what you do in life. That's exactly how it is. And the other thing that I'm going to tell you is, I've had a lot of friends in my life who constantly say oh, I'm going to do it. When I'm, 50 years old, I'm going to be in great shape. And, or, 6 months from now, you're not even going to believe, where I am financially. And, and yet they say this over and over, but they do absolutely nothing to go for it, to make it happen. And so, that's another big thing that, you have to think about. You can't sit here and constantly set yourself up for a goal, but then do nothing to start moving towards it. There's two important things to think about when you're setting an intention or you're gonna, go after something. Number one is you can only start from where you're at. You can't start from where you want to be. You can't start from, where you think you should be. You can only start from where you're at. So that's, something that you really have to take in consideration. I think that's another thing that trips people up is, we get into this mindset of oh, well, if I had this amount of money or, if I had, this particular thing, then, it would be easier for me to do. And yeah, okay, that's great. And that's true. But you don't. So if you don't, and you still want to go after whatever it is you want to go after, or you want to better yourself in some way, then you just got to do it. You just got to start from where you're at, even if it's, even if it's not really, doesn't seem as though it's going to get you to where you want to be. It's going to, if your mind is there and you start to take whatever tiny little steps you can take to get you there. It's going to get you there. Believe me when I tell you. When I first, I wrote a book. I wrote a self-help book. And when I even had an inkling of doing that was one day I was on the phone with my brother and I was just talking about some stupid scenario about life, and I was making like a, telling him about something and using an example, just whatever, just normal conversation. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, this is like really good information. It's like an analogy to life. And so when I got off the phone with him, I jotted it down, and it became like a couple of steps. And from there, I was like, God, what could I do with this? There must be something I can. And so, originally I rolled it around. I'm going to make a website. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it took months and months and months. But then, I don't know, all of a sudden I've got a spurge of inspired action, and I took action, and I started writing. And before I knew it, I was creating this book. But believe me when I tell you, it took me years. I wrote it and rewrote it, and I went along my merry way, living my life and screwing up and, having successes and then screwing up again. And in the meantime, I'm, writing here and there and rewriting, and until I finally, finished the best I could this book and ended up self-publishing it. The bottom line is that I started with something, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I took action. I immediately took action. I'm talking about it. I jotted it down. I decided I wanted to create something, and so that's what I started to do. And in the end, I not only wrote my book, but I did create a website, and I have built this business, and I keep striving, and I keep doing. And that's the point. When you decide that you're going to do whatever, you have to start from where you're at. That's all you can do. And it doesn't matter if you think it's never going to get you to where you want to be, or you're not even sure of where you want to be. It doesn't matter. At least you're starting to do something different that's going to move you in a new direction. And that's important. And then the other thing is that I think it's also, it's just the idea that the longer you wait, the harder it gets, because the more you talk yourself out of things. So, that's another very important thing to consider. You like I said earlier, friends of mine that have, that used to constantly say, oh, when I'm this age, I'm going to do this, or when I have this, I'm going to do this. And in the meantime, they did nothing, thinking that at some point, something would click and they would do it. Well, that's the whole thing. The more you put it off and think that something's going to come out of nowhere, is the harder it's going to be for you to finally do it. So, another important reason to at least do something, anything different that's going to help you to move in a new direction. So, life is about change, and if you want to create positive change, you have to start with yourself. And, you have to start with whatever you have to start with, whatever you have, whatever that may be. So keep that in mind. It is about the doing. Yeah, we can roll things around in our head, but when push comes to shove, it's about the doing. So go out there today and do something, anything different, to start making a good change in your life. Okay, I'm Giselle Bonomo, self-development coach and confidant from selfempowermentcoaching.com. Thanks, and have a great day.